Repetition!
Hey YouTube, Repetition84 here, and I'm here in the lounge with another top 10 video. And this one is about my top 10, or the top 10 most infuriating arguments, Yu-Gi-Oh arguments that is, that I have ever been in. Now, as I've said before, I actually hate arguments, believe it or not. And over the years, these are the ones that have just been the most annoying. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory, you know, it's in regards to whether or not it's a debate over how a card works, or over cards in the game that I hate. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Starting with number 10, Elemental Hero Stratos. You know, the debate about whether or not it should have stayed banned during the time it was banned. Now, of course, with this being one of my absolute favourite heroes in the game, as well as one of my top 10 favourite cards, I was genuinely annoyed and upset when this got banned, because I felt like it was banned for no good reason, and it wasn't even because of heroes, it was because of the Blaze Phoenix FTK. I mean, I know I've said this before, but I just don't get why Blaze Phoenix itself wasn't banned. I mean, that was the problem. And yeah, for about 5 years after that, this debate would come up from time to time, which I was getting sick and tired of, and people were saying, oh, Stratos can't come back, he's too broken, which I think was a load of shit, and even tried to use arguments like, it's not once per turn. But I'm just like, so? I mean, the card was limited for a while. The chances of using it in multiple turns are slim. I mean, even today, like, now that it's unbanned at 3, like, nobody's able to use like multiple copies of it in the same turn, along with the fact that there's multiple ways to stop his effect. And the other argument was it pops back row, but whenever someone would say that, I'd be like, well, so what? Breaker the Magical Warrior, Lila the Light Sworn Sorceress, MST pop back row. So I was thinking that by the logic of anyone who would say that, every form of back row removal in the game should be banned. But anyway, I'm trying not to get too much into all of these debates, but in any case, it was just so annoying. But in the end, Stratos, of course, did eventually come back, and yeah, there's been no reason to debate about it ever since. Yeah, that was still annoying. Number 9, compulsory evacuation device, where an opponent assumed that it doesn't target. Now, I was using my Blue Eyes White Dragon deck in a game, and I had Azure Eyes on the field, and it was giving itself plus my other dragons targeting immunity, and the guy tried to bounce one of them off the field with Compulse, and the reason why he thought it didn't target was because he was using an old printing of it, which simply had the text, return one monster on the field to its owner's hand. and he just wouldn't listen to me when I said that it does target, and in the end I had to find one with the most up-to-date text, which in fact said, where is it? Yeah, target one monster on the field, return that target to the hand. Yeah, who would have thought something like this would happen when someone's playing a card with old text? I mean, this doesn't always happen though, but yeah, I guess it was one of those cases where reading the card doesn't help the arguments. But yeah, that was just so annoying. Number 8, advanced ritual art, and this is a situation involving the same guy. He assumed that you could special summon the ritual monster you ritual summon off it from the deck. I don't know why he assumed that. Maybe he just misread the card and seemed to think that you send a normal monster from deck to the grave and then bring out the ritual from the deck. But I was like, it doesn't work like that. You have to have the monster in your hand. But he kept saying, oh, but I've done it before and no one's had a problem with it. But it's like, well, it's not about having a problem. It's just not how the card works. And, yeah, this conversation I felt was just going around in a circle, I swear. I feel like this was going on for about 5 minutes or so. I mean, eventually he gave in, but fucking hell, like, it was exhausting. I mean, it didn't help that no other players were around at that point. I mean, we were the first two to arrive at Dead Uni on the day, like on one Saturday morning. Yeah, again, it really, I guess it doesn't help that I'm not a judge, but again, what I lack in being a judge, I make up for in the fact that I'm an experienced veteran duelist who's played since 2003, and when it comes to older cards, I know how they work. Yeah, so annoying. Number 7, Elemental Hero Absolute Zero. And this was something that happened like 2 or 3 times, where the opponent seemed to think that it destroyed my monsters as well as the opponent's, and tried to argue that it worked that way, but I was like, no, it only destroys the opponent's monsters. It clearly says it on the card. Seriously, did these guys just not read the card? Clearly not. I mean, there is even one point where someone said, show me an up-to-date printing. But like, you don't need to see an up-to-date printing. Right? All of the prints clearly say the same thing. When it leaves the field, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Yeah, again, this is one of those situations where opponents are just assuming that I don't know how my own card works, even though I do. And like I said before, it's not only annoying, it's also insulting. I mean, I've played Absolute Zero for a long time. I know how it works and how it doesn't. On a side note, there was also another annoying debate involving this where like back in the late 2010s, there were two occasions where the opponent seemed to think that it doesn't destroy the opponent's monsters if it's bounced or spun back to the extra deck. Now, since 2020, the ruling has changed, and now it doesn't destroy the opponent's monsters if it's bounced or spun, but before then, it's still triggered if it went back to the extra deck. But yeah, that was so infuriating. Number 6, negates versus monsters unaffected by card effects. Yeah, this came up a few too many times where someone tried to argue that monsters that are unaffected by card effects, like Ultimate Falcon and Blackwing Full Armor Master, are worse than negates, which is something I strongly disagree with. Because I think negates are so much worse, because they're basically auto win buttons that just negate everything and stop you from being able to play. I mean, at least if Ultimate Falcon or Full Armor Master is on the field, I can still freely activate stuff and just bring out big monsters that can run them over. I mean, pretty much any of my decks can do this. I mean, it's no problem for any of my hero decks, including Rainbow Neos, and Utopia the Lightning can just get rid of them. Whereas in the case of Dark Magician, Mahad and Amulet Dragon can take them down. So, I mean, yeah, they're annoying and tricky to deal with, but they're not impossible to get rid of, whereas if there's a negate or two on the field, like, I can't do shit. I mean, but, from the other point of view, I can see why monsters unaffected by card effects would be worse, because, you could argue that if you are able to bait out a negate, you could then freely activate some stuff and even use like a Regeki or a Darkhold to get rid of the negates. And then be able to just continue the flow of the duel and play it out normally, whereas obviously Regeki and stuff doesn't do anything to Ultimate Falcon and Full Armor Master. I mean, yeah, that is fair enough. The problem is, if there's multiple negates on the field, then it's impossible to do any baiting. Baiting just doesn't do shit. Really. That's what I find most of the time, especially when the opponent is too smart and just won't negate what I want them to negate. So that's why I personally think negates are a million times worse. No one can tell me otherwise. Number 5, Ash Blossom. Yeah, I know hating Ash Blossom is an unpopular opinion, like I said, but even so, the Ash Blossom arguments are just annoying. I'm just really sick and tired of people saying, oh, it's a necessary evil, just play it. It's part of the game. You need to play Ash. Like, I don't need to do jack shit when it comes to Ash. I understand that Ash Blossom is a necessary evil for the game, and I understand how beneficial it is, when it comes to combating the meta and stopping OTK and lockdown bullshit. I get that. I understand that, but at the same time, hey Bertie, the card is just pure evil, and it just stops too many things. Even to a point where it just ends someone's turn, or just causes the scoop phase. I mean, I've never scooped to an Ash Blossom, but there have been too many times where it just ended my whole turn, and I just couldn't get anything rolling, and couldn't even fight back, in one case. And it just really pissed me off, especially in this one local where I couldn't get anything rolling against one of the decks I faced, and it ruined one of my plays in a Royal Rumble. Yeah, I'm just sick of seeing this card in almost every fucking deck I see, whether it's a competitive setting or a casual setting. And I think it's worse in a casual setting, because, like I said before, I feel like I'm being punished for a crime that the meta committed, whereas I didn't, and I'm just trying to actually play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And have a good time. So, why bring Ash Blossom into a casual setting? Not everyone is playing top tier meta or OTK or lockdown decks of some kind and trying desperately to win. Some of us just simply want to play the game and have fun. It's also annoying when people would say, oh, just use Call by the Grave, just use Cross-Out Designator. Like, they're both limited. And that's what I said about Call by. It's fucking limited. The chances of seeing it are too slim. And even if I do see it, I can only stop one Ash Blossom out of 3, and then I have no way to stop the other 2. Unless, of course, it's late game and I can use Solemn Strike on it. But that's the other annoying thing. There's not enough ways to counter Ash Blossom or other annoying hand traps. There's near enough no way to stop them. And there's just too much favouritism towards them, and a lot of hate towards cards that specifically stop them. It's like, I just want to play the game. I don't want my plays constantly stopped all the time. It's infuriating. Ash Blossom itself and the annoying arguments over it are one of the reasons why I stopped playing in the normal tournaments. Anyway, that's all there is to say there. Number 4, Masked Hero Darklaw. The only masked hero that I hate, and one of the 2 only heroes in the game that I hate. The other one being Contrast Hero Chaos. Now, as you know, I despise Darklaw because it's a walking macro, and I play decks that need the graveyard, and this card is practically an auto win against graveyard dependent decks. When I started playing Masked Heroes myself, I was just simply trying to make a fun version, not a meta version, and a version that didn't run Dark Lord. You know, I wanted to focus on all the other ones, and yet people kept questioning me and giving me shit for not playing Dark Lord. And they were like, oh, why are you not playing Dark Lord? You have to play Dark Lord. Like, again, I don't have to do jack shit when it comes to Dark Lord. Fuck Dark Lord. You know? Again, there is this thing called personal preference. You know, but these guys just didn't understand that not everyone likes Dark Law, and therefore not everyone has to play Dark Law. It was annoying that people would argue that it's needed to win, but I've been able to win a significant amount of games without Dark Law. Hell, I even beat Necros without the aid of Dark Law. That proves that I didn't need it. And of course, back then it got so annoying that I stopped playing Masked Heroes because it was the only way to stop people giving me shit over it. But, eventually I did rebuild Masked Heroes on Edo Pro, just for the fun of it, and under Patrician format, in which of course Dark Law is banned. So it was like, well, it doesn't even matter anymore, especially since I don't play competitively, so, what does it matter if I play it or not? And the same goes for this next card, number 3, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. When people would argue with me over it, question me on why I'm not playing it in Dark Magician or Red Eyes Black Dragon, and even give me shit over it. Like, again, it was just so fucking annoying. Like, debates over it just happened way too many times throughout 2022, and even a couple of times in 2023. Well, like people say, oh, why are you not playing Dragoon? You have to play Dragoon. You can't win without Dragoon. Like, well, that's not true. I am perfectly capable of winning games with my Dark Magician and Red Eyes decks without Dragoon. I don't need an auto win button to win with that deck, or even have a good time. And again, I don't even play competitively, so it really doesn't matter. And again, it's down to personal preference, and not everyone has to play a deck the same way as everyone else. Again, these guys just don't seem to understand that not everyone likes Dragoon, and therefore not everyone has to play him. This got so annoying that I even stopped doing deck profile videos on my channel twice, although I was convinced to do them again, but then until I started up Patrician format, I disabled the comments of my Dark Magician and Red Eyes Black Dragon deck profiles just to stop people doing this. But obviously, since I've started up Patrician format and started playing it, as you can guess, Dragoon is banned in that. There's been no issues since. But that was infuriating. Number 2, Invoked Mechaba. This was an annoying argument that happened after a minor league tournament. Where this guy was just straight up defending it and getting defensive and saying, oh, it's not that bad. I was like, yeah, it really is. I mean, sure, you have to discard the same type of card, but it doesn't matter, because it's usually the same type of card anyway. I mean, it just amazed me that such an infuriating card like a Walking the Gate was even allowed in a casual format. It just defeats the whole point and goes against the spirit of a casual, chilled and relaxed format. If I wanted to deal with Walking the Gates, I might as well have carried on playing in the normal tournaments. Then, of course, this would eventually evolve into a debate regarding negates and OTK decks, and the guy trying to justify them when really nothing can justify this shit. Yeah, and it just got so annoying, considering the guy would just carry them on, the argument on when I was trying to end it, that this was eventually what led me to quitting current format Yu-Gi-Oh! Overall. Just negates existing and the constant arguing over them. I just had enough. I mean, that was the final straw. And I've not wanted to play the normal current format ever since. Even though there were a few times in 2024 afterwards where I got roped into a current format game, even though I really didn't want to play that way. Of course, the other interesting thing was, after venting about this kind of argument elsewhere, like not specifically about this issue, the guy said, oh, I was only joking. But I'm calling bullshit on that, because based on what was said and how it was said, it didn't seem like a joke. I think he was just trying to cover it up to, well, I hope that would end the whole thing. But yeah, I don't believe for a second that it was a joke. But still annoying either way. And finally, in at number 1, Monarchs. Yeah, there'd be the occasional argument over Monarchs. I mean, like I said before, it's my longest running hated deck, and they've been a thorn in my side since the mid-2000s. And they've just brought me a lot of pain and suffering whenever the matchup came up, regardless of the format. So much so that, like I said in that top 20 video, Zaborg, Mobius, Riser and Gaius, the original forms, scarred me for life. And yeah, not only were they annoying to play against, people starting arguments with me over them were also annoying. Yeah, even when Mobius would be compared to Twin Twisters, but alright, yeah, they do the same thing, but they are not the same card. Because, well, Mobius is an easy win monster card, especially late game, whereas Twin Twisters is not a monster card, and it's not an easy win card. I mean, Twin Twisters is just a good generic background removal card that I play almost everything I have. Whereas, again, Mobius is an easy win monster card, part of an easy win deck. I mean, alright, yeah, it doesn't guarantee the win, like early to mid game, but even so, like, all the Monarchs are just cheap, easy win cards, getting rid of something just like that with no effort. Some, I mean, another guy would even try and justify the originals existing and saying, oh, the Mega Monarch versions are worse, but still, that doesn't justify the bullshit that is the original forms existing. And then, of course, there was Monarch Gate, like I've brought up a few more times, you know, the infuriating argument about Monarchs being allowed in a certain casual format, which just got out of hand, and it just caused me to fall out with 4 people. Because they were just antagonising me and just making me feel like I'm not allowed to have an opinion. You know, it was just too much, and it just got too far. And of course, these arguments make me hate Monarchs more than ever. And yeah, I don't think there's anything more I can say that I haven't said already, but yeah, those are the most infuriating Yu-Gi-Oh! Arguments I've ever been in. But, you know, again, I'm not trying to start up an argument over these or anything. I'm just simply pointing out the most infuriating ones. I mean, maybe there's some infuriating Yu-Gi-Oh! Arguments that really ticked you off. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Magician YouTube channel.